What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today, well, we're living in a post-English release Digimon world. I'm honestly kind of delighted about this. I'm sitting here, I am next to English language Digimon cards, which is kind of ridiculous. Also, thank you to everyone that watched my opening yesterday. My openings actually ended up being really popular, one of the more popular videos I've done for a little while, so thanks to you guys. You guys are awesome. So, today we've got 3 new Tamers from the upcoming set 4 over in Japan. We have a translation from the lovely Jason Snowjack. Stop me if you've heard that one before. And just one more quick reminder that these are from set 4 in Japan, which means they are not going to be in Booster 1.0 and 1.5. They are going to be in whatever comes next, which we haven't been shown or told about. But I'm excited for when we are. So we got a red, a blue, and a green. Starting off, we've got Diamond Masuru. Sorry for any pronunciation errors here. And it's got that standard thing at the beginning of your turn. If your memory is 2 or less, set it to 3. We've seen this on a bunch of Tamers in the past, but it's really nice. It means that thing your opponent wants to try and do where they play a card to leave you on 1 memory, so the first thing you do, well, unless it's a 1-cost thing, I suppose, instantly puts it over to their turn. It's nice to be able to get around that. It's a standard thing we've seen on a bunch of Tamers before, but it's still quite nice. But on your turn, when your Digimon whose name contains Greymon attacks, you may rest this Tamer and gain 1 memory. Now, this is a 4-cost Tamer, probably should have said that. This is awesome. This is absolutely awesome. Because the fact of the matter is, this might be a red Tamer, but this is not some kind of red exclusive card. The only thing it's really asking you to do is have a Digimon whose name contains Greymon. And yeah, fine, we've got plenty of red Greymon kind of decks. I mean, we had War Greymon in the starter deck, and then we had War Greymon in BT1, which has come along in Booster 1. But there's so much more than that. We've got the Black War Greymon line, one that I am very fond of here, which culminates in the one that's got both Blocker and Reboot. And oh look, looks like that one will work very nicely indeed as well. Then, of course, if we head on over into Yellow, we've got Shine Greymon. Yeah, Shine Greymon will work rather nicely. And again, it might be a yellow card, but it's still got Greymon in the name. So it works kind of perfectly here. So it can work in red decks, or black decks, or yellow decks. And the fact of the matter is that Shine Greymon and War Greymon, these are all good cards. Now, it does actually bear pointing out, Shine Greymon has an effect that lets you rest all of your yellow Tamers, and for every yellow Tamer you put to rest, you minus 4,000 power from one of your opponent's Digimon. But it also has a skill that gives it an extra 1,000 power for every Tamer that you have. So, you know, you do lose out on the one skill here, but you still do have the others. You've got that second skill there. So you can still play this in a Shine Greymon deck if you so wish. And it's a versatility I love here. Obviously, gaining memory is awesome. Gaining memory is what a lot of the Tamers do. It is a huge advantage. And with this one, it's really simple. If you're playing a War Greymon, Shine Greymon, Blitz Greymon, whatever Greymon, Victory Greymon deck, this should be considered quite strongly. If you're not, this card is never going to be any good, and you shouldn't really worry your pretty little head about it. It's a 4-cost, which is as bad as expensive as Tamers get, but you've still got that extra memory. It goes from 1 or 2 to 3 at the beginning of your turn. Then in any Greymon deck, this is going to be a really fun one. Because bearing in mind, a lot of the pre-evolutions will have Greymon as well, Greymon, Metal Greymon, etc. This is going to work a lot. We've seen a lot of these Tamers that can give you 1 extra memory, but the fact of the matter is that they often work sometimes, but not the rest. This is going to work a lot, and that is a thing of beauty. Thomas H. Norstein, we've got a blue Tamer here, And it's a free cost Tamer, and when you play it, you draw a card. Cool. It's kind of a one-shot deal. You play it, you draw a card, that's it. It doesn't do anything else. I mean, there's another skill. We'll get there in a minute. But in terms of kind of drawing cards, you get one extra card once. Having said that, we do see the Gabumon that originally came around in New Evolution. That is a free cost card that when you play it, you draw a card. And that's seen a whole bunch of play. So if a free cost Digimon that will draw a card sees a bunch of play, I think a free cost Tamer that draws a card might see a bunch of play. Now, of course, a Digimon can be Digivolved up or attack or any of that. But then again, a Tamer can sit in play and use its other skill. But the other skill, I don't know how I feel about it. It has a main skill, so a main phase skill. When your opponent has 8 or more cards in hand, you may put this Tamer to rest and put one of your Digimon whose name contains Gao to active. Now, resting a Tamer to make your Digimon active is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. I don't mind a lot of time I'm resting my Tamer to like gain 1 memory. Here I'm getting an extra attack. I love that I'm getting an extra attack here. This is a thing of absolute beauty, but it only works if your opponent has 8 or more cards in hand. And the issue I've got here is this is pretty easy for your opponent to play around. Like, your opponent can just go, oh, yeah, I'm going to make sure I play my cards. Now, it's not always that simple, because in order to play cards in the Digimon TCG, you've got to pay the memory cost, and you might not be able to pay the memory cost. You might not have enough memory. It's not one of those games where, like Final Fantasy or Marvel Champions, where you can just discard cards from your hand in order to pay for other cards. And not guaranteed, but a lot of the time you can empty out your hand pretty easily. It ain't that kind of game. You can play whatever you want during your turn, just so long as you've got the memory to pay for it. And you might not have the memory, but this is a kind of thing you can play around. Now, incidentally, it is a kind of thing you have to play around. If your opponent is essentially getting 1 extra attack every turn, or maybe extra block or whatever, that is ridiculous. Being able to activate one of your Digimon extra every turn, I mean, it's the kind of thing that Blue does. We've seen Blue do this quite a bit before. But being able to do this on a regular basis is going to give you a humongous advantage. But, I mean, look, this is one of those skills that you can test without ever having to have this card in front of you. The game is now out in English. We've got a bunch of English language cards. So like me, a lot of you are probably going to spend the next few weeks playing a huge amount of games at a Digimon TCG. So when you're playing these games, just take a look at your opponent's hand size. Make a note of how often your opponent has 8 or more cards in hand. If you think it's enough, this is a phenomenal Tamer, but a hand size of 8 is quite a lot. For a game that doesn't have great draw options, I mean, I've told you about Gabumon. It's a free cost Digimon that lets you draw 1 card. It sees a bunch of play. And you only draw 1 card per turn. This is not generally a card game with giant hand sizes, which I think might end up making this Tamer interesting, but this is one I'm unconvinced of. Having said that, to go back to my initial point here, if Gabumon as a free cost Digimon drawing 1 card is worth it, maybe playing this for the draw and crossing your fingers that you can activate one of your Digimon in future, maybe it's worth it. Now, as a quick little side note before we finish up on this card, a lot of you like me are probably thinking, do we have any Digimon with Gao in the name? No, we don't. But the lovely James Gill over on the Facebook group, who helps me out a lot and is awesome, has provided this handy graphic, which shows us the Digimon that will be able to use this. They're going to be in the set, right? They're going to be in set 4. They have to be in set 4. But because otherwise this Tamer would be pointless. So expect these Digimon to make an appearance. I don't think you will be disappointed. And then there's one more Tamer we need to have a little bit of a look at here. It is the green Tamer. It is Fujita Yoshino. Now, we've got a free cost Tamer here. And when you play, you return a Digitama from your trash to the bottom of your Digitama deck. I like this. Now, again, this is a one-shot deal. Use it once, it's gone, you don't get to do it again. Okay, fine. However, it's very cool. Now, if you think about the mechanics of the Digi-Eggs here in your breeding area, you basically get one breeding phase per turn, and during that breeding phase, you get to either hatch a Digi-Egg, or if you've previously evolved it into a level 3 or higher, you get to move it out to the battle area. And then they get destroyed. Now, a lot of the time, people play a 4-1 split here. So you've got 4 that you want to play and 1 extra, so you've got a Digi-Egg ready to go. This lets you play a just 4 Digi-Egg no other, while having access to a 5th. Or it lets you play a 3-2 split, and then you get to choose the best one, because some are going to be better in some matchups than others in others. So you could play, say, a 3-2 split, or you could play like a 2-2-1 split, or a 1-1-1-2 split, or you could play a bunch of different Digi-Eggs here, knowing that you have the option in the future of essentially getting one of them back. So you just go with whatever you've got, knowing that you've got a second use of your best one. I think outside of green I wouldn't love this, because the fact of the matter is, if you've got 5 Digi-Eggs, it is going to take 10 turns minimum to get them all on the field. 1 turn to hatch, 1 turn to bring out, times 5. But you can use Mimi Tachikawa. And Mimi Tachikawa, if you've got a level 5 or above green Digimon in play, you basically get an extra breeding phase by resting her. And I love these 2 Tamers in combination. Now, whether you can get these Tamers out consistently and all of that, that is another question. I'll leave that one up to you to try and decide. But you can't deny it makes a very, very nice, fun combo indeed. So, recovering Digi-Eggs, good. Either it gives you extra access to ones you can only play 4, or it allows you to play a funky mix and drag one of them back, making you a little bit more consistent. But wait, there's more. When you evolve your Digimon into a Digimon from your hand that has a Digiburst skill, you may rest this Tamer and reduce the evolution cost by 1. So, essentially, like so many of the Tamers we've seen, this is, in essence, giving you an extra 1 memory. However, it is completely in your control, which I'm loving. And this really makes us look again at, say, Sunflowermon that we looked at, well, yesterday, day before, very recently regardless. And Sunflowermon comes in here as a level 4, 2 cost to evolve, with Digiburst 2, and you get to trash any 2 cards from the Digivolution sources. That's what Digiburst 2 means. And then you may choose one of your opponent's Digimon, and they cannot unsuspend them. What I love here is that this Tamer basically makes Sunflowermon just unashamedly good. Because generally speaking, right, green, we got a bunch of 1 cost to evolve level 4s. Green are faster at evolving. It's why this Tamer makes so much sense in a green deck. But with this, you've got the really nice Digiburst skill, where if they're resting, and remember one of the things that green does so well is rest your opponent's Digimon, you get to stop one of them being made active during your opponent's next turn. It's wonderful. But it's not always going to be that useful. A lot of the time you're going to Digivolve up through it, and you've used a more expensive Digimon than you need to. Well, now, use this. This turns into a 1 cost to Digivolve, and you've still got that awesome skill if you want it. Remember, it's Digiburst 2, and this is a level 4, so you must have Digivolved from a Digi-Egg in order to have 2 Digivolution sources that you can trash to actually activate this skill. I love this. This is wonderful. And it's not just Sunflowermon. It's any Digimon with Digiburst. And the other thing to bear in mind here is, although this is a green Tamer, there is nothing to say that Fujita needs to be played in a green deck. You return a Digitama of any colour when you play it. You Digivolve into any colour Digimon with Digiburst, and you can rest her to reduce the cost by 1. So I know we're talking about a green one here, but it doesn't need to go into a green deck. This green Tamer doesn't need to go into a green deck. How cool is that? These are good Tamers. I really like them. Except for Tom. I'm not impressed by Tom. Sorry, Tom. But I think if you're playing a Greymon deck, Daimon is just an absolutely great choice. And I think any deck that either really relies on Digitama and has Digiburst, or relies on Digiburst and has Digitama, can make really good use of this card. So I'm fans of 2 of the 3 of these, but I'd like to know what you think. Do you like 2 of them? Are they the same 2? Let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wossy. That's where we talk Digimon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.